everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. A few weeks ago, I had on a very popular guest, and I say that because whenever she's on, we probably get more questions than for any other doctor, and I think it's because she's a dermatologist, and while not everybody has heart disease or autoimmune disease or diabetes, everybody has skin, and there's so much of it because it covers you from head to toe. And she was on and we just didn't get to all the questions. So we're going to do another Q&A with Dr. Jessica Krant, who's not only board certified in dermatology, but in lifestyle medicine. I always tell you, when you look for a plant-based doctor, which she is, get one that's also certified in plant-based medicine. And we have so many questions that have been sent in that we always go to those before we do the chat. So if you want priority on your questions, get on my mailing list. We send out once a week an email saying who's going to be on. All you have to do is reply, and then we save your question. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Jessica Krant. Hello.
Hi, Chef AJ. I'm always so excited to come back. It's a big honor. And just wanted to say that, yes, absolutely. Not only does everybody have skin, but our skin is our largest organ. So, I always feel that, there's so much to ask about, and I'm happy to be here to try to do my best.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And you're so thorough in your answering of the questions. I always feel like it's like a mini medical school. So thank you so much. So I know you have to leave right at hard stop at noon. And, I'm not seeing a lot of people, and I think they're tired like me. The time change this way is never as good as the other way. You know what I mean?
This one is a rough transition, but I'm so happy to switch back into daylight savings time because I love the longer light in the evening. So I'm willing to suffer this weekend for that, apparently it's 8 months now. We only have 4 months of standard time, and there's a big movement to do away with switching back to standard. So
I would like to just keep it all. I don't care what time it is. Please just keep it the same, because I have all these electronic appliances now and I just can't figure out how to change my clock. So for that reason alone. All right. So we'll get to the first question from Natalie. And we understand you can't be people's medical doctors, but I'm sure you'll say that when you answer this. I have chronic eczema and my dermatologist wants to put me on Dupixent. I really don't want to go on it, but worry about my poor quality of sleep from the constant itching. What are your thoughts?
Yes, Chef AJ, you are correct. I always must say that these ideas and opinions I give on your show are just some general thoughts. They're for educational purposes, and I'm definitely not giving anybody medical advice. So in terms of eczema and Dupixent is a systemic medication that has proven to be almost miraculous for some people with chronic eczema and itchy rashes all over the body. And some people really do need it to relieve suffering so they can sleep and have a decent quality of life. That said, of course, eczema is a general term, and there are so many different subtypes of eczema and causes of eczema. Some are due to true allergies, and some are not. Some are due to lifestyle factors, and some are genetic. So it is hard for me to answer that question. I hope, Natalie, that you are able to continue to pursue figuring out what the causes might be and try to get some relief from the eczema without needing the Dupixent. But if you need it and you need it for relief right now, I'm not against it. I totally understand wanting to pursue natural cures, but sometimes we have to take care of ourselves and get emergency help.
Great, thank you. And this is from Maddie. Would you please mind asking Dr. Krant her views on Heliocare? It's a supplement that supposedly reduces UV-induced formation of free radicals. And she put a link to I can put this in if you want, I guess it's a medical journal article about it.
Heliocare is a brand of supplement based on the fern plant. The substance is Polypodium leucotomus. And over the years, I have been following Heliocare and Polypodium leucotomus because it is a fascinating plant-based ingredient. And it actually has proven to help protect our skin from sun damage and from ultraviolet radiation damage from the sun. It does help with polymorphous light eruption, which is like a sun allergy. People who really suffer from that every spring the Heliocare helps prevent it. And it has been shown now to potentially reduce long-term, potentially a little bit of aging effects from chronic sun damage. So I'm a fan for anybody who's interested in Heliocare. I do think it has benefit, and I consider it to generally be safe.
Great, thank you. Susan says, is there anything that can be done or used at home to address extreme wrinkling on the hands?
Extreme wrinkling on the hands might be genetic. So it's hard for me to answer that. And I also am not sure if we're talking about wrinkling on the back of the hands or wrinkling on the palms. Extreme wrinkling on the palms may actually be a medical condition. So that should be taken into the dermatologist to discuss what could be going on there. Extreme wrinkling on the back of the hands, maybe from chronic, extreme, lifelong sun exposure or chronic irritation and chemical exposure, depends on what you've been doing with your hands. And it can also be genetic. So all of the things that we do for our faces to reduce wrinkling can also be used on our hands. Sunscreen, moisturizers, retinoids and plant-based retinoid cousins like bakuchiol, and all of the plant-based anti-aging ingredients, as well as lasers, and some physicians do fillers in the hands. There's all of those treatments are available for hands too.
Wow, who knew? Thanks. Andrea says, last year I lost 40 pounds eating a whole food, plant-based, and mostly SOS-free diet. But she's noticed some things that aren't so great. And she says she has outbreaks similar to acne always on her back. And she said that she heard once from a chef at a spa that that's toxins leaving our body. Is that true?
I've heard the toxins leaving our body creates rashes theory from many different directions. And that is not a theory that I subscribe to. I do believe that while we are having a drastic lifestyle change, we may have temporary hormonal imbalances and other imbalances that are cropping up as we make drastic shifts. We may have vitamin imbalances, but I don't believe that it is what some people call toxins leaving the body through the skin. I don't think that's scientifically what's happening. That said, acne breakout on the back, it can be from so many things. It may or may not be regular acne. It could actually be a folliculitis. It could be a heat rash. It could be a yeast folliculitis. But if it's acne, it can also be hormonally induced. Sometimes when people go on or off different forms of birth control, suddenly there's a huge outbreak on their back and on their body in a way they never had before. If the drastic weight loss shifted your hormonal cycles, that might temporarily trigger some outbreaks that you never had before. So I would say, if you're not sure what's going on and it's not getting better, see your board certified dermatologist and also maybe a plant-based dietitian and see if there's something that's a little bit out of balance. I do know, and a lot of plant-based eaters and vegan eaters may not realize that vitamin B12, the supplement we are all told to take, it actually in high doses may promote true acne breakouts. That is real. So if you are trying to be good and get all of your vitamins and take your B12 supplement and you're noticing more skin breakouts than you had before, it actually could be that you're taking a little more B12 than you need, and reducing the B12 might actually help your skin.
Oh, wow. That's great. Thanks. And she also said that she has developed deep folds in her skin from the weight loss. For example, in her inner thigh, she's only about 4'10". Her legs and thighs have always been thin, but with a 40-pound weight loss on a petite person, she's experiencing these. Is there anything she can do to get rid of these folds short of skin removal surgery?
This is such a tough one, and I don't know if there's a great answer. And I have to say also that the older we are when we are able to lose the weight, the less our skin is already ready to snap back, and the less rubbery and stretchy it is. So it is tough. It's a tough problem when we treat ourselves well and we change to a healthy diet and we lose weight to our natural healthy weight, whatever weight that is, we can end up with some loose skin. And there are no real creams or procedures that tighten it up enough to make what you'll think of as a big difference. So that's why a lot of people do end up going for the surgery if it's bothersome to them.
Yeah. I mean, I've known a lot of people that had it, and some of them say it wasn't that big of a deal, and some of them say it hurt like heck.
It can be really painful, and it can create scars that are, scars you wish you didn't have to have. So it's always a pro and a con, and it's a lifestyle decision, and each person definitely has to evaluate for themselves what they need to do.
Great, thanks. Colleen says, first of all, thank you, Dr. Krant. I've been using eye cream, moisturizer, and hand cream since last spring, and my skin has stayed juicy throughout the cold Midwest winter. I haven't colored my hair for a year, and it's growing out so slowly. I'm 63 and whole food plant-based exclusive SOS free for 6 years. I always thought it grew fast. I'm a little worried that it seems slower. Should I be worried?
Well, hair growth is a complex phenomenon. And as we get older and as we go through menopause and past menopause, our hair growth changes. And one of the things that changes is that the cycle of hair growth, there are three parts to our cycle. There's anagen phase, when the strands of hair are actively growing. There is catagen phase, where the hair has grown to whatever length that particular hair is going to grow to, and it actually stops growing. And then there's telogen phase, where the hair falls out as a new hair is starting to grow underneath it. And one of the things that happens is that as we get older and go through menopause, our anagen phase actually shortens. So our hair just does, for most people, our hair cannot grow as long as it used to grow. And that phase may also slow down a little bit. You may feel that your hair just isn't getting as long because the anagen phase is shorter, and all of the hairs, which are in different cycles individually, they tend to stop growing at a shorter length. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong. I think it may be normal. It can have to do with whether you're taking hormone supplementation and whether all of your hair growing nutrients are in good balance. So there's a lot of factors, but I don't necessarily think it means there's something wrong.
So it's normal if things change? Because I noticed, like, when I was younger, I have dark hair and I used to always have to shave my legs. Now it's like there's almost nothing there. That doesn't necessarily mean I have a disease, right? That could be normal as you age, right? To have less hair.
It is normal. If we think of women and men, who are in their 90s, they have very sparse, thin hair on their head, and they really don't have a lot of body hair. That is completely normal transition after we go through our adult phase of our lives, where we are in our prime childbearing years, where all those juicy hormones are all around. And then as we get older, it's natural that those fade away, and those hormones are what create all the hair. So once the hormones are kind of settling down, the hair does too.
Thanks. Right. Jan asks, what causes dry, flaky skin inside the ear opening? Are there any over-the-counter remedies?
Well, dry, flaky skin inside the ear can be a true eczema, which is an irritation, a dryness that could be from something being rubbed inside the ear and irritating the very delicate ear canal skin. It could be a little bit genetic, but one of the most common causes of flakiness inside the ear is what we call seborrheic dermatitis, otherwise known as seborrhea and otherwise known as dandruff. So flaky skin on the scalp, it tends to be where the skin's a little bit oily. We call dandruff seborrheic dermatitis. It's all caused by an overgrowth of a very common skin yeast, which is normal for all of us to have, that overgrows on you to a point where it irritates your own skin, and you get a little red, a little itchy, and the flakiness gets created by the chronic inflammation. That same little yeast can overgrow just inside the ear canal, and it can overgrow on the inner tips of the eyebrows. It can overgrow around the corners of the nose, and for men in the mustache and beard area. All of these hair-bearing or more oily areas. It's not really safe to buy an over-the-counter medicine that you would drip into your ear canal. If you need a medicine in your ear canal, you really should see an ENT doctor and get something that's made for the ear, because putting the wrong medicine into your ear can actually cause deafness. So it's not worth messing around. That said, using a dandruff shampoo on your scalp and on your outer ears in the shower can sometimes reduce the population of yeast enough that the itchiness inside your ear goes away, among many other options. So dandruff shampoo, some people try to use tea tree oil shampoo and other more plant-based natural shampoos. It may help a little bit, but those don't truly kill the yeast that's causing the condition.
Okay, thank you. So this is from Julie. Last year, I had severe dysplasia / melanoma in situ. I don't know any of these words. A great surgeon got all the cells with a wide excision on my back. I'm followed every 3 months by my MGH dermatologist and had a couple of additional moderate dysplastic melanocytic freckles or moles removed. What extra steps, aside from sunblock, can I take to minimize the risk of another one popping up? I am mid-40s and have super fair, freckly skin, and I'm a natural strawberry blonde, and I'm an outdoor enthusiast. Are there any superfoods in addition to the whole food plant-based diet? Thank you.
Okay, well, you're really hitting most of the protective behaviors. The melanocytic nevi, which is the cell that creates melanoma, is the same cell that creates melanin, which is the pigment of our skin. And that cell is the melanocyte. Cyte means cell. So melanocytic nevus means a brown pigmented mole. And melanoma in situ means a true skin cancer from the melanocyte. And in situ means superficial in the surface. It has not invaded and gone deep, which is good news because melanoma is scary. Strawberry blondes who are athletic and out in the sun are just absolutely at higher risk. There's no doubt about it. I would say wearing sun protective clothing like it's your business as much as possible, with long sleeves and a shirt and even a hood and a hat. I'm sorry to say, there's just no avoiding how important that may be for you. One of the things we mentioned earlier, the Heliocare, the polypodium leukotomus, that may be helpful in reducing some of the damage from the ultraviolet radiation for your skin. In terms of magic superfoods, it's really all of the brightly colored fruits and vegetables. They all help to reduce sun damage. There is no one single one that's your magic bullet, so to speak. Tomatoes and raspberries and citrus are all known to be protective, but I wouldn't say if you just eat a bunch of tomatoes before you go outside, you're going to be safe. So keep doing what you're doing and enjoy being outdoors and keep seeing your dermatologist every 3 months, and you should be on a pretty good path.
Oh, great. Thank you. Caroline asks, what resources does Dr. Krant recommend for pregnant women to know which products aren't safe to use on the body during pregnancy?
I do not have a single resource that I know of that I could direct any individual to. I have to say that my answer to all of my patients who are attempting to become pregnant or who are pregnant is that you have to talk to your OB, your OB/GYN. That is the person in charge of your baby and in charge of your pregnancy. And that's who the true arbiter is for what they consider safe. So I can try to look up in the future to see if I can come up with a directory that I feel is okay. But even then, your doctor is going to be the last word.
Great. Thanks. Okay. So we have a question from Karen. What do you think about cleansing conditioners such as When? Are they harmful or are they safe? I've been reading a lot about this thing called co-washing where people don't use shampoo anymore and they just use conditioner. I wonder if that's what When is. Don't know much about it.
I did not deeply investigate Wen. I do recall a few years ago there was a lawsuit against Wen because some people claimed that it made their hair fall out. And that's honestly as much as I know. I don't know what the merits of the lawsuit were, and I don't actually know the outcome. So these cleansing conditioners, and they say it's not safe to wash your hair and you should just use these oils and conditioners. I do not buy into any of that. I do not buy into any one rule being good or bad for everybody's hair. One thing I have found is that most of my women patients who are coming to me with terribly itchy scalps, scabby scalps from scratching and hair falling out are actually following this new tradition of using organic shampoos that are sulfate free. And in doing so, they're actually not getting their scalps properly cleaned. So they're getting very itchy buildup of yeast, and they're not really letting the dead skin cells be taken off of the scalp. Their scalps aren't getting clean. And they just don't understand why their hair is greasy and matted and their scalps are so itchy when they feel like they're using these fancy shampoos. So I'm sorry to say, I do not have a single rule for hair. Everyone's hair is so individual. Genetically, ethnically, we all have different scalps and different hair qualities, and everybody should use what makes their hair feel the best to them.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Steph asks, do silicone patches that claim to boost collagen and erase wrinkles work? Are off-counter hyaluronic acid, 2% retinol, and peptide serums helpful? Which one of these do we need, or do each one of them serve different purposes? And does she mean those patches that people do like they're for wrinkles? Is that what she means?
I guess she must mean that, yes.
Okay.
And I also don't know if I completely understand whether she's asking if she should use one, either the patches or the serums. The patches do not increase collagen. The patches increase hydration. And they're really great and safe in terms of, they basically seal the outer layer of the skin and they create an external barrier. And moisture cannot evaporate itself out of your skin from underneath that patch. So all of the moisture that would normally come to your skin surface and evaporate out is unable to, and it all gets stuck in the surface of your skin and plumps up your cells and makes your skin just plump and juicy temporarily. Those are fine. They work, but they're not really changing the function of your skin beyond, regular use of a super moisturizer. If you were to have a moisturizer on that works similarly, a powerhouse moisturizer, it would do something similar. So those are fun. I'm all for them. And the serums, every serum is different. There are so many brands and so many formulations. Hyaluronic acid is a gentle and safe hydrating base for moisturizers, but hyaluronic acid comes in different molecule sizes. Some of them are a little more hydrating than others, and they all have different functions. So you'll see different companies touting different versions of their hyaluronic acid products with different items mixed in. And I'm sure some of them are great and some of them are probably useless. So I don't really have a blanket answer for that one either. I'm sorry, Chef AJ. I feel like I keep saying the same thing over and over that I can't give anybody a straight answer.
Okay, no, but this is still great. These patches, though, you have to use them every day, because I've seen ads for them like on YouTube, and they look like people put them here and on their forehead, and then they take them off, and it looks like they have less wrinkles.
I think I just saw an ad for that on YouTube today. So yes, they only work while you're wearing them. They build up the hydration in your skin right then. And when you take them off, your skin starts to dry out. So you're going to use them overnight when you're sleeping, or for a few hours before an event, maybe something like that. If you do it every day, your skin has more hydration in it regularly, and it will create a deep etched fold more slowly. It's not able to fold when you're holding it in place. So you can't create that deep fold in your frown line because you can't fold your skin.
Maybe I could just walk around like this all the time.
Exactly.
And just if I could just do this, or, maybe a clip. I could have a clip for the back of my neck.
Right. Let's do this, walk around. Absolutely. That was a
Facelift
great.
isn't it? Isn't it kind of a facelift that whole idea to?
Here's my facelift. I wish that was just, done.
Well, maybe we
So
should all just walk around like this. All, hey, how are you? Good to see you.
they have those, they have those tapes that they tape your neck skin behind your ear. They are there. It's out there for anybody who's that diligent. I'm just not that organized.
Nice. Sue said, a question from Sue. She said the last time you were on, you talked about how when you use tretinoin or whatever that, the retin-A creams to kind of like just take the tiniest bit and go like this and go like this. And she said when she does that, it's not enough and she can't get it over her face unless her face is wet first. Is it okay to use this over a wet face? Will it still get absorbed?
So thank you for reviewing I call my patented Dr. Krant technique for retinoids, because that used to be the secret technique that I only told my own patients in my own office. So now everybody knows that's my patented technique. And the answer to the wet face is actually wet skin and damp skin absorbs it better. It absorbs it more quickly. So when you put chemicals, medicines, plant-based products on damp skin, the damp skin is more open and it absorbs things more quickly, which if you want that effect is great. But be warned that the reason I had that other pause with my technique where you wait an hour is because when people usually do that with retinoids, they often get the retinoid working too well. They get dried out, they get red and flaky and itchy. And it's not that it's a side effect, it's actually an effect. It is the effect of the retinoid. So if your skin tolerates putting it on when it's damp, go for it. The other option is you wait the hour or wait 2 hours or wait 3 hours, put a little moisturizer on first. And then if you want to take that little bit of retinoid and spread it over and it's not enough, you can actually add a little bit. This is just a starter guideline for how to use them regularly every day without it causing a problem. If it doesn't work for you, then you adjust for your own situation.
Are you saying you should moisturize before retinoids?
Moisturizing before the retinoid will create a little barrier that slows the retinoid down in its absorption. So use that technique if you need to slow the retinoid down.
Or if you want to speed it up and look young tomorrow.
If you want to speed it up and look young tomorrow, put on a toothpaste amount on a damp face that you just washed out of a hot shower, and then be prepared because you're probably going to burn your face off, but you'll look really young.
That's funny. Beauty knows no price, right?
That's right. Listen, beauty is pain. Beauty is pain.
Wow. It's so interesting. Because in the Stone Age, I bet they didn't have to worry about this. There were no mirrors.
There were no mirrors. And I think all those cavemen were very grateful to find, a partner at all. And now we're competing in the working world as well. So this is leading into actually something I'm really passionate about, which is why we are feeling so much pressure to do all of these things to ourselves in the first place, which I would love to have a conversation with you about someday, just separately from all these questions, and just get to a place where we feel happy with our natural selves and are comfortable in our own skin.
You know who you should interview on that is Dr. Doug Lisle, because I know there has to be an evolutionary reason that we're so obsessed with youth and beauty.
Oh, I'm sure there is. And, I would love to talk to him. That would be fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, and he's very open to interviews, and I bet you he would have the answer. And that's so interesting. I love that you're interested in that. And I think it also depends sometimes where you live, that there's certain, like, I've been to certain cities where there doesn't seem to be as much pressure, you know what I mean? But like in California, especially, where we can wear clothes where that show more, it's different when you're like in freezing temperatures and you got to bundle up, but places that are warm, it seems even more competitive. You know what I mean?
Right. Let's do the research. Let's find out, where these cultures are. I know that Miami and Los Angeles have a lot of pressure, and also in Texas, actually. So you're right. It may have something to do with being outside and less clothed more often. I don't know.
I'll never forget. I don't want to say the person's name, but when I was in Texas speaking, and so I went to the gym to work out, the ladies were wearing makeup at the gym, and that can't be good for you to be all sweaty with makeup. But that was really, I never saw that before, where people had full face makeup at a gym working out.
I know. I think it's part of the same culture that we have to investigate of why did women get to a place where they feel like they cannot leave the house without full makeup, and culturally they just would never consider it. So I think it's all very interesting.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. Okay, we've got two more previously submitted questions, and we'll do the ones in the chat for as many as we have time for. Amanda asks, I'm confident that apologize, I can't pronounce your doctory words, but she says, I have malassezia folliculitis, fungal acne on my forehead and possibly scalp without success since it started in 2019. I've tried Nizoral, ketoconazole, clindamycin, betamethasone cream, and an oral antibiotic. It's better than it was, but it still lingers and itches. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
This is a very doctory question. So I really, have to say I'm not really able to give medical advice here. And I don't know from her question if she is seeing a board certified dermatologist physician. And if she's not, it might be valuable, because all of those things mentioned might be helpful, but some of them might be not helpful if it's a true yeast folliculitis. And some of them could be helpful in topical form, but more helpful in oral form. I did not hear an oral antifungal mentioned. So I don't know if that's part of the treatment that she has tried or not. Yeast is tricky. And if we don't recognize that it's a yeast folliculitis, a lot of people treat it as acne, which is not based on yeast. So it can go down the wrong path for a little while. Dermatologists are becoming more aware of this condition, and there are answers, but it can take many months of treatment with an oral antifungal sometimes to break the cycle and break the imbalance. Of course, a whole food plant-based diet will help the microbiome balance in the most helpful way. But other than that, I can't right now off the top of my head think of special tricks. Using anti-yeast and antifungal soaps may help. Zinc soaps or sulfur soaps to wash the face may be helpful. I don't know if that's being done.
Great. Why are all the words for diseases and medications so long and difficult to pronounce? Did they do that on purpose so that us lay people would feel like dum-dums when we tried to read them?
I think that, the serious answer for that is I think that the original medical language was Latin because it was a common language that all doctors and scientists from all over the planet could learn and use to speak to each other. So now I have to say that we have some weird old-fashioned names for things in dermatology. And when they try to update them to meaningful modern names that are not in Latin, they're actually become very long and complicated, and they're just not as fun. So I think we're kind of stuck with a hodgepodge of naming.
I think the longest word I ever heard for a disease was pneuma ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis.
I agree. You win.
Yeah. And
wow.
Yeah, it's black. It's like, I think it's black lung. It's a pulmonary disease. And the only reason I know that is I used to be a respiratory therapist. So we had to learn a lot of these. That's what a great word, pneuma ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. I love that.
Wow. That's even longer than anti-disestablishmentarianism.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I actually wrote a song about it once. I used to write songs when I was in my 20s, and that's a mouthful. So one more question and we'll get to the chat. This is from, can't pronounce the person's name, Magda. She's asking, how often does Dr. Krant recommend washing hair with gentle sulfite-free cleansers if one has somewhat of a dry scalp and doesn't use products like sprays, gels, etc. in the hair? I recently started washing hair less frequently and noticed some tiny white bits in the hair, assuming it's dry scalp. How often should we wash our faces if we don't wear makeup and have sensitive skin? How often should we exfoliate, and with what? So basically, what do we do from the neck up?
Okay, so here we go with an entire masterclass in basic dermatology. I will do my best. That's a 3-in-1. The answer to the first one, I think she may not have known that I was going to answer something very similar a few minutes ago. That the trend of washing with sulfate free shampoos. Sorry, it got started because everybody was trying to originally protect hair color. Hair dye that was done in a salon or at home is disrupted by sulfates in shampoos. And when people were washing with traditional shampoos, they were paying a lot of money to color their hair. And this is like in the 80s and then 90s, people paying a lot of money to color their hair. And then they would use shampoo with sodium lauryl sulfate and other things like that, which are the foaming agents that actually clean, that are like the detergents that clean our scalps, but it would take the color out of our hair. So a trend started to grow for color protective shampoos that were sulfate free because they were more gentle on the hair strands and left the color in place. Over the years, this has morphed into a health, avoiding chemicals, being more natural type of a message. And like I said, I'm getting a lot of women young women and teenagers coming into my office with itchy, flaky scalps. That is not just dry scalp. It's flaky, but it's flaky because there's a buildup of a common skin yeast that lives in our scalps. That's not really supposed to be so populous. Regular shampoos kill it. And dandruff shampoos, over-the-counter dandruff shampoos, kill it even more. So I think that the washing hair less and letting the seborrheic dermatitis build up, it's not my way to go. Some people don't have that issue, but if you do have that issue, please feel free to wash your scalps more often. You can put conditioner on your hair strands to prevent your hair from getting dried out. But I think the scalp may need a little more regular shampoo or even dandruff shampoo. So I think part 2 was how often to wash the face. Again, I do not have a hard and fast rule here. If you feel that your skin is oily, greasy, flaky, irritated, bumpy, it may take a little more washing. Once or maybe twice a day gently is okay. I am not somebody that says you must wash your face twice a day. Some people get too dried out and irritated with that, and some people do very well when they wash maybe every other day and rinse otherwise in between. So I don't say that there's a certain amount you should be washing and moisturizing. That really depends on your exact skin condition. And fortunately or unfortunately, we're all individual, and we can have a buildup of seborrheic dermatitis on our faces that we need to address with maybe some treatments or some special soaps that may have zinc or sulfur in them. And moisturizing, again, is also individual. If you get dry, it's great to moisturize. Some people who actually produce a lot of oil, their skin is producing oil because they're excessively drying it out by overwashing and over exfoliating. Their damaged, irritated skin is saying, hey, you're killing me. I need to be more moisturized. So it's overproducing oil to compensate. So actually sometimes reducing the washing, reducing the scrubbing, and adding a little moisturizer helps your skin feel protected so it calms down and produces less oil. The third question was about exfoliating. I am not somebody who believes that we need to proactively exfoliate. A little bit of exfoliating is okay, but some people get into a cycle of constant exfoliation, which actually makes the skin feel like it's being traumatized. It's too irritating. And our skin fights back by overproducing skin cells and ramping up skin cell development, which can create a cycle of excessive flakiness. So it can actually make you get worse and worse. So everything, be a little balanced. Don't hurt your skin.
Great. Thank you. I think this question from Vanessa is fascinating. She says that her fingerprints can't be read anymore. Do you have any advice?
I don't, because I don't know what the condition is. I don't know what's happening. This is something that I probably just can't answer this way. I don't know if she's washing her skin too much and her skin is peeling. I don't know if she has a genetic condition that may be flattening out the fingerprints. So I hope she's able to get some help and figure it out, because that must be frustrating. But I don't know how to answer that one.
Well, she could commit crimes and not get caught now, right? Because there'll be no trace.
Oh, yeah, I know, but no one wants to be forced into a life of crime.
Just
It has to be our choice.
Actually, I did see two more questions that came in that I missed. So let's get to these and then hopefully the chat. Kathy said, is it normal for hair texture to change? I'm in my late 30s and my hair has always been straight, but it has become wavy recently. When I volunteered at the cancer center and people had chemo and they had lost their hair, it would come back completely different. Like it was so interesting.
It's common, it's also very hormonal and it's genetic. I always thought it was fascinating that what determines the shape of our hair is the shape of the opening of the hair follicles. Hair follicles that are flatter make hair that's more curly, and hair follicles that are rounder make hair that grows more straight. So it can be affected by hormones. It can be affected by life stage. It can be affected by maybe an acute illness or an acute shock to the system. And sometimes it changes for a while and then we'll actually go back to how it was before. So it's normal.
Okay, great. Thanks. Leslie says, I'm interested to know if there's any research on toenail fungus. Topical treatment doesn't help. I would like to know why it doesn't spread to the other toes or other members of the family using the same shower. Is this indicative of a possible underlying condition in the body? And if so, what could it be?
Most likely, it's not indicative of an underlying condition. Fungus is it's an infection, and it could require certain conditions for other people to actually become infected by it. And your body is constantly in a balance of trying to fight it off and also leave it alone. So it may just be fighting it off well enough to prevent it from spreading to other toes. And as far as why other family members don't get it, who knows? Their immune systems may recognize it just enough to keep it from getting I don't want to make a pun, but a foothold. And I'm not enough of a mycologist, which is a fungus and mold expert. I'm not enough of a mycologist to give a really scientific answer for why that's happening.
So all you can say is there must be fungus among us. Sorry, I don't know. I'm like, this time change is just messing my head.
I led you off on that path by doing my own pun. So now we're both in trouble.
So now we get into the chat. We'll go as fast as we can in the time we have left. First question I see is from Linda. Dairy causes eczema, right?
Dairy has been proven to be linked to acne. Eczema is a very complex, broad category, and some people's eczema may flare from dairy. There are people with true dairy allergies who do get true rashes on their skin from dairy. But I cannot, as a blanket statement, say that dairy is the cause of one person's eczema.
Okay, great.
That's my quick answer for that one.
Thanks. Paul says, I have kidney issues and have been told to reduce plant protein to reduce skin itchiness. I guess it's not a question, it's a statement, but maybe he wants to know what you think about that.
I'm not enough of a kidney disease expert to really answer that. I'm not that familiar with advice that kidney patients are given. So
we'll have Dr. Sean Hashmi, Plant Based Kidney Doctor, back on. So Paul, make sure you're on my mailing list and we can ask him that.
Exactly. He's the kidney expert.
Right. Elksuk says, what suggestions do you have for non-toxic face, body creams, and washes?
Well, I know everybody's always waiting to hear my advice about skin products. And I always say, I'm not really the product expert, the product maven, but I actually have recently learned of a brand new line that is called Fortify, and it's being sold at regular drugstores. And I think they're trying to get it into Walmart. And it's actually a vegan and non-toxic and cruelty-free line that also contains a mineral, an inert and safe mineral ingredient that helps it as a preservative and also helps to kill microbes on the skin. So it's being promoted as, in this day and age where we're all concerned about viruses and other microbes in the environment, that it might be a way to incorporate some of that into your skincare.
Cool. Thanks. Tammy says, what skin creams, oh, would you recommend for skin? But you don't really go with any products specifically, right?
You know, there are so many. Maybe one time I really will come with a list.
Okay.
I don't have a way to give a name of one or two. No.
You're scheduled for July. I know that. And she says, what is the best way to treat precancerous areas?
The best way to treat precancerous areas is definitely to see your dermatologist, because we have ways we can either give you a prescription cream that's like a chemotherapy cream that actually kills the cancerous and precancerous cells. We do a liquid nitrogen spray where we physically give you medical frostbite intending to kill the bad cells. And it's worth doing because these are the ones that if you leave them there, they will potentially turn into skin cancer. So it's not anything that I would recommend trying to take care of yourself at home with some kind of infomercial natural product. I definitely would go see a real dermatologist for pre-skin cancer spots.
Great, thanks. Okay.
I want to just jump back also and say the Fortify line that I mentioned, that I have no conflict of interest with that product or that company. I just heard about it and thought it was a neat idea.
Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Brian says, with a hydroperoxide of linalool skin sensitivity, should one assume that eating spicy herbs with inolol like basil, cinnamon, parsley, oregano cause problems as well as other internally or externally?
This is a real, very detailed and serious allergic question about food allergies and about contact allergies and contact dermatitis. I'm not an expert in that. There are people who are contact dermatitis experts who really know all of the different chemicals and food chemicals. And I'm sorry to say that I don't know how to answer that question.
That's okay. Thank you. Do collagen supplements help with skin elasticity? Diami asks.
Somebody just asked me this yesterday. I just don't promote taking collagen supplements. They're not plant-based, first of all. Real collagen comes from animals, so I don't promote that. And vegan, quote unquote, vegan collagen supplements are basically plant protein broken up with all of the building blocks of collagen. And we get all of those anyway if we eat a varied, broad based plant-based diet. So I do not believe that somebody eating a healthy, varied plant-based diet with all of the categories of plant-based foods in a broad rainbow of colors needs to take collagen supplements.
Great. All right. Let's see. Avtar says, my hair is thinned drastically since adopting whole food plant-based. Any suggestions what I can do to restore my hair health?
Hair is very complicated, and there are some dermatologists that are hair growth experts. So when we have a drastic weight loss, it can create a type of a hair thinning called telogen effluvium, which is the same type of hair loss that comes from an acute or chronic illness or a shock to the system, even a dramatic emotional shock. We can actually lose quite a bit of hair. For the common type of telogen effluvium, usually after several months, the hair will return to its natural state. But when we change to a plant-based diet, there's a high risk of nutrients being missed. So it's important to see your doctor, see your plant-based doctor, get your blood test checked just to make sure you have enough iron, you have enough vitamin D, you have enough vitamin B12 and folate, natural folate, and selenium and other tricky building blocks that help hair that can be missing in a new diet.
All right, let's see. Karen says, does Dr. Krant know anything about hair envy?
I do not know about hair envy.
I'm guessing it's a product, or it's just like, I'm jealous of your hair because it's so beautiful.
I can definitely talk about hair envy from the standpoint of the psychological aspects and how we all view ourselves and each other, but I don't know about the product.
Okay, great. Thank you. Brenda says, what's good for brown spots? I'm just noticed I'm starting to get some on the back of my hands and face. I'm 64. I bet you she doesn't use sunscreen on her hands.
Even if she uses sunscreen now, those sunspots probably started in her childhood and teenage years of sun exposure. Other than sunscreen, massive amounts of sunscreen and even gloves starting right now. I don't really know of any home-based products that truly will remove those spots. Those may need a laser treatment or a chemical peel at a board-certified dermatologist office. And then daily sunscreen to prevent them from coming back.
Good. Thank you. RM asks, anything that I can dye my gray hair with that isn't toxic?
I am, not a hair dye expert. There's a lot of questions today of things I don't know. I apologize, everybody. The only natural hair dye that I'm aware of really is natural henna. That's from a plant. Even what they call black henna is not really henna. It has paraphenylene diamine in it, PPD, which is a really common allergen. A lot of people become allergic to it. So I do not, off the top of my head, know of a natural hair dye product, but I'm sure somebody does out there in the world.
Great. All right, let's see. Gloria says, I've been on the plant-based since November. My scalp has sores. What can I use? And I also lost hair on a spot and it is bare.
Oh my goodness. I really would like to make sure that she goes to see a real board-certified dermatologist. I don't know if she also changed her shampooing at the same time and built up some of that seborrhea that's so itchy that makes people scratch and scratch at their scalps and get scabs. Trying to be more natural and clean and wash hair less and use these organic and sulfate-free shampoos really is wreaking havoc on people's scalps. So that's one. But a patch of bare scalp where the hair just fell out and there's nothing there, that could be a condition called alopecia areata, which can be from stress. It can be related to thyroid issues, and it can just happen genetically and should be seen by a doctor. There are treatments for it and we can investigate it, but I would not wait it out and see if it gets better at home.
Terrific. Thank you. Let's see. Steph says, do chemicals in hair coloring cause health issues?
Wow, there's a lot of hair questions today.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who is what I call a chemophobe. I'm not afraid of every chemical just because it's a chemical. Even our food is, when you look at it in scientific terms, the terms are chemicals. Everything is made of chemicals. Toxic chemicals that are on our skin can definitely cause health issues, but other than contact allergy, we don't have proof that certain toxic chemicals on the scalp in hair dye cause specific disease right now. We know that there's a lot of research being done on endocrine disruptors and chemicals that really do affect our hormonal balances. But on an adult who's already a fully formed adult, who did not grow up as a baby exposed to these chemicals, I don't know if I can say that hair dye specifically causes a specific illness, but it is toxic for the most part. So if you're trying to minimize toxins, you would avoid it.
Great, thanks. Dr. John Westerdahl has a question. He says, I work with dermatologist Dr. Howard Murad, who's, oh gosh, I gotta put my glasses on, I can't see, whose concept of the science of cellular water for anti-aging and cellular hydration, advocating a water-based diet, which is a plant-based diet, lots of raw fruits and vegetables. The water in plant foods, which get into plant cells, is easier to get into our cell and also contains antioxidants and anti-inflammatories for intracellular hydration and protecting the cell membrane from free radical damage, causing cells to lose intracellular water, promoting cell aging, eventually causing lack of hydration of cells, including skin cells causing wrinkles. What are your thoughts on this concept? That's a lot.
Well, and boy, that's quite a commercial for Dr. Murad. I have never heard that theory. So I was just not familiar with Dr. Murad's theory. So this is the first time I've heard it. I have to say, I can't really distinguish it from the benefits of eating the whole food plant-based diet, and you get the molecules of the vitamins and the benefits of the fiber with the water in the food. I don't know how the water itself, the H2O molecules themselves, are actually different. I just don't know if that is a real thing. So I would say that when we eat the whole food plant-based diet with the water-rich foods, with the fiber, the water that are in our fruits and vegetables, we are getting everything we need, all the building blocks, and our bodies know what to do with them. I don't know about the water molecules being different.
Great. Angela asks if some eczema is autoimmune.
Autoimmune disease and autoimmune conditions are extremely varied and can be just very difficult to live with and difficult to manage. So there are definitely autoimmune conditions that affect the skin and can create itchiness and rashes. I would not say that autoimmune eczema is its own specific condition, except that eczema is an imbalance in the immune system and the immune system's reaction to things in the environment that don't bother other people. So I'm sure that there's an autoimmune phenomenon happening. I don't know if it's just an eczema or if it's a whole system of issues going on.
Cool. Okay, there was a question. Sorry, I was typing it to somebody, but it was about how to thicken hair in a senior citizen. And she listed some things that might be used.
You know, one thing that happens, and I don't know if this is a senior citizen man or woman, but when we go through...
it's Pat, which could be a man or a woman. Unfortunately, the name is Pat. And
women who go through menopause truly do start to have thinning hair. That is normal. And we're, you know, our society never really spent a lot of time talking about it before. It's become much more common. The male hormones become more prominent as we get older in women, and that blocks our estrogen dependent hair growth. So as we go through menopause, our hair does start to thin. Using products that block that testosterone transition in our scalp, the dihydrotestosterone that stops our hair growing, like Rogaine and the generic Rogaines, minoxidil, and some prescription medications that men commonly take called that are finasteride and dutasteride. Those are prescription medications. Those help to block the increase in the male hormone milieu and allow the hair to grow a little bit better. The same thing works for men. But in terms of, there are a couple of prescription, actually not prescription, over-the-counter, but expensive hair vitamin supplements. They probably do have some benefit, and there are different. So I would not say that everybody has to take them. And the whole food plant-based diet, eating soy helps to promote hair growth and some supporting estrogen later in life. And I can't think off the top of my head of some other things. There are some other specific dietary measures and supplements that are out there, which I'll come back with next time.
Great. Well, I know you have to go. You are scheduled on July 10th. And you also are at the top of my cancellation list. And I know that you really only can do weekends and sometimes Fridays. So if I get a cancellation, she'll be back sooner. Otherwise, please get on my mailing list because we tell you when she's on it and you can send us an email. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when my guest is registered plant-based dietitian Sharon Palmer. She's going to be making recipes from her new book, California Vegan, including a pomegranate farro salad. Thanks again, Dr. Krant. You just are a wealth of knowledge.
Thanks, Chef AJ. See you soon.